Hello, welcome back to Life on Board AmyJo. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Chris isn't with me. Chris has actually returned back to work. Chris works as a teacher assistant at a local private primary school. And now that the foundation year 1 and year 6 age groups are allowed back in school, the school asked Chris if she would go in and she's agreed. So unfortunately, you're stuck with me. Yes, I know, Chris is the better looking, but hey ho, you can't have everything. Now we've got some good news on this vlog. This is actually going to be a cruising vlog. We're very fortunate now that CNRT have lifted the restrictions for liveaboards like us, and we can now cruise the network, or most of it anyway, not all of it's open. But our local stretch is available for cruising. So with a few days to go before Chris was due back to work, we decided we'd have a little cruise down to Nantwich, further down the Shropshire Union, and we'd like to take you along for the cruise as well. So I hope you enjoy our first cruise of the season. It was a bright sunny morning when we slipped our lines from our moorings just outside Tattenhall Marina, and we headed off down the Shropshire Union towards Nantwich. Later that day, Chris decided to make us an early lunch, as we knew we had several locks to get through and it would be late afternoon before we would have free time to have anything to eat. Because there is a large stretch of canal between Christleton Lock near Chester and the lock that we were headed for, Walton Lock near Tiverton, this large overflow or overspill has been put in place to maintain the level on this stretch of the canal. As you can see, there's not much water going over it at the moment, but when it's been raining or people locking down through from Christleton, this can have quite a mass of water overflowing this spillway. Of course, no vlog's complete without the obligatory shot of the geese and their young goslings. In fact, these are the first that we've seen this year. And approaching our second home, the Shady Oak pub. Just a shame it's closed due to the COVID virus, but never mind. We'll be there when they open, and we'll be supporting Pete and Yvonne, like we always have done. If you're ever out this way, you must stop at the Shady Oak. It's a fantastic little pub and you'll be made more than welcome. And our first lock of the day, Walton Lock. Here speeded up so that we're not here all day. Nudge there. And into our second lock of the day, Iron Lock. And as its name suggests, this lock is quite unique on this stretch of the canal because the sides of the lock, instead of being brick, are made of iron, which is all very well, but unfortunately if you're single-handing, it makes it really difficult because there are no ladders in the lock to climb out of. But I'm lucky today, I've got Chris on board and she's doing the lock wheeling for me. You can see that the side walls of the canal are made out of iron. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked really well because the sides are starting to bow, and now we can only have one boat in the lock at any one time. It should be a double lock, but because of the bow in the steel, we have to go in one boat at a time. Asked why is it canals never overfill themselves, and here's the reason. They're here, just here. When a lock is full or there's more water coming down from above the lock, this overspill or bywash can allow excess water to drop past the lock. Every lock will have one of these so the water can be equalised. And of course, who can resist a photo of Mum and her brood of ducklings? Every vlog has to have shots of ducklings. But just look at the little fella on the left hand side. He's got himself nicely placed. Looks well comfortable there, doesn't he? This lovely boat is Turneth World. Now after a little bit of research I found out it's a replica of a Bridgewater little packet tug. This particular boat was actually built in 1998 by Roger Fuller. We're now in Bunbury staircase locks. This is a 2-chamber set of locks. We're currently sitting in the bottom chamber, and fortunately for us, a boat has just gone up, so the top chamber is now full of water. So in order to ascend these locks, first of all we let the water out from the top chamber down into the chamber we're in. Once the levels in the 2 chambers have equalised, we can open the gates in front of the boat and then move on into the second chamber, close the gates behind it, and then fill the second chamber to ascend the lock and exit at the top. And once again we've speeded it up so that we're not here all day. We stopped a while at Calvary Services to top up with water. It gave me a chance to use my new toy, which is an inline meter, so that we could see how many litres we're actually filling with. Our water gauge, even from day one when AmyJo was launched, has never been that reliable, so we're never really sure just how much water we're using. So we bought this little meter to help us out. And as you can see, the expanding hose runs a good length. It's actually 100-foot length, and it collapses down to quite small. The next stretch of the canal from Calvary down to Holston Junction I consider to be extremely boring. There's not a great deal to see, so what we've done is we've speeded this section up just to save a little time. Down here is a well-known boating landmark in this part of the world. It's Bunbury's Junction. Now Bunbury's Junction joins the Shropshire Union via the Middlewich branch, as they call it, up to the Trent and Mersey Canal at Middlewich. We're going straight on here this time. Now the building on the right hand side that you can see in the picture has had several uses in its life. It originally started out as stables for the horses. This was a changeover point for the working boats. In later life it's become a store for CNRT equipment, etc. The narrows that we're going to be going through is purely so that the horses could be disconnected and the boat rested in the narrows while the horses changed over. We're now approaching Holston Junction, and this junction signifies the start of the Llangollen Canal. There's a series of locks, or Holston locks, to go through to climb up onto the Llangollen Canal. This has been a problem area this last year because the bottom lock, the wall was starting to collapse in, and several boats were getting trapped in the lock or jammed in the lock. So over the last winter and pretty well much into the early part of this year, CNRT contractors have literally dug the sidewalls out of the canal and rebuilt them. And we managed to find our favourite mooring spot just after the Nantwich aqueduct. As you can see, the embankment here is really high, it's almost at rooftop level. The plan is for us to spend tomorrow here and then return back to the Shady Oak. Now it's time for our non-boater section, and in this one we're going to show you how to lock up a double lock, or rather how Chris and I lock up a double lock. We're not experts by any means, but this is how we've found the best way to do it. Well, here we are at Beeston Stone Lock. Now you'll remember from my boater's guide, in the last video we spoke about wide locks and wide canals. Well, this stretch of the Shroppy is known as a wide canal, and this is a double lock. You'll notice the top locks, the gates, are in a pair, as are the bottom two. So first thing we do when we operate a lock is we come down to the top, we have a gate open, that's down to presumably bad balance, and we check each of the paddles are closed. And the way we do that is we check the gear to see that the arm is right down. For the first job, we need to close the gate. And these are quite heavy going, these gates, so that's why I'm here helping Chris. So, now we're happy that the top of the lock gates are closed and paddles are down. What we can do now is we need to lower the level in the lock, because AmyJo has to come up. So, in order to get the level down, on this pair of gates, the bottom gates, we have to open these paddles and let the level out before we can even entertain bringing AmyJo into the lock. As Chris winds the paddle, that will lower the level in the chamber, ready for AmyJo down there to come into the lock. With both paddles open, you can tell that by the ratchet gear being right up, on both locks. We now just have to wait for the level in the lock to equalise with the canal below it, and as you can see there's the water pouring out. And slowly but surely the level is now dropping, and we just now have to wait until both are equalised. At the top half of the lock you'll notice that the gates are mitered into forming a V shape. Well, that's very deliberate, because what it does, the pressure of the water on this side will now force the gates closed and help to make a seal on the other side. Although these locks are over 200 years old and one has to expect some leakage like that. So, with the water now equal to the canal down below, the next job is to shut the paddles on these bottom gates. And as you can see, the pressure now is off this bottom gate and it's starting to open. So now we'll just open the gates and bring AmyJo in. Of course, being a double lock, we don't actually need to open both gates, because one gate is wide enough to let AmyJo in. So with AmyJo now in the lock, Chris has been able to open the paddles on the top gates on either side, and now the lock is filling. The bottom gate's now shut and paddles closed. He's now retaining the water in the lock as it fills. Of course, the process isn't that fast, but we could time lapse this and you could see the actual level climbing up. It's a very slow process. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to half fill the lock. But even as I've been speaking, if you watch the rung on the ladder, you can see the level slowly rising. So with the lock now filling, we just wait for the level in this side of the lock to equalise with that side of the canal.
Managed to get stay in the routine.
So now with the level in the lock nearing the level of the canal above it, Chris is shutting that side paddle and she'll come across to this side and see if she can open the gate. Notice the handy walkway across the lock there, saves going all the way around the back. So how do we know when the level's equalised? Well, Chris can push on the gate and slowly but slowly the edge is open. And all that's left to do now is to lower this paddle, motor AmyJo out and close the gate behind us. AmyJo now out of the lock. All that's left to do is for Chris to shut the gate while I hold AmyJo steady and wait for her. And that is how you lock out through a wide or double lock. Now here's a handy little tip for you ladies that are doing lock wheeling and finding that the lock beam won't move and it's really stiff. You'll notice Chris has put the windlass through the handle of the lock beam and is using the windlass to help her to open the lock gate. You'll find doing that it'll open up a lot easier. Well, that's it for this one. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, do give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see future vlogs and you're following us, then please do hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of any future vlogs, then hit the bell icon and we will let you know when we post a new vlog. Now you can also follow us on our new Facebook group, Life on Board AmyJo, and if you want to see our story in more detail, then you can go to our blog at www.nbamyjo.com. So I'm going to have to go now, because if I don't get dinner on, I'm going to be in deep doo-doo when Chris gets home from work. So I'm going to have to leave you now. So I'll say to you, stay safe, and we'll see you next time on Life on Board AmyJo. Bye.